demand zones. This is my number one strategy, and I've played a lot of strategies. It's my number one strategy, not only for options, but just catching reversals in general on mid to high cap stocks. So the theory with zones is, let me clear this chart for y'all. So basically, there are two ways price moves in the market. There's balanced and imbalanced. Balanced means when you have consolidation / going sideways. So right here, I'm going to be using SPCE for an example. Just pardon my screen being a little bit laggy right now. So when it's consolidating / moving sideways or trading in a tight range, that is balanced. That means buyers and sellers are agreeing on a price range, and that's what's being executed. But the second that goes to imbalance, which is imbalanced movement, that means you get a strong move to the upside or downside. And what happens is when you get a strong move to the upside, like right here, or anywhere where you get a strong move to the upside, that leaves buy orders, institutional buy limit orders unfilled, and those are there. That's the whole theory. And same thing with sell orders. If something drops too fast, sell orders remain in that zone, and that's what creates these demand and supply zones. And how you find these is by doing some candlestick analysis. So you're basically, this is the most intricate way to chart, because it involves going through every single time frame. If it's a pain in the butt chart, I stop at an hour. But if it's a stock I'm gonna pay a lot of attention to, I go all the way down to 30 minutes. So the way you chart this is you start the month, then the week, then the day, and you work your way all the way down to the 30-minute. I'll teach you how. So for this, I'm just going to use SPCE for an example. It's a super simple chart. So you start at the month, and you start the monthly, and every single time frame you work right to left. So what are you looking for? So what you want to look for when charting demand zones, we're just going to do demand zones right now since there's no supply zones right here. When you chart demand zones, you want a red basing candle, and a basing candle means it has to have a few qualities to it. It has to be red. It has to have a fairly flat body, or a bullish engulfing, or doji / any candle that's a basing candle that shows price balance. So for example, right here, we can see that this is actually a demand zone. Now, would this be a super strong demand zone? Not typically, because it's so wide, but this is technically a demand zone. When you have zones like this, right here, these are a little bit trickier, but my general rule is if it's less than half of the green candle's body, I count it as a zone. So in TradingView is where I chart my zones, and usually this rectangle is a brush, right? And so I go to this brush, I right click, I go to rectangle, and that's how I draw this. So it looks like my screen's gonna be a bit laggy, but my laptop's gonna chug along. All right, so when you chart these zones, I'm just gonna do this one real quick. When you chart demand zones, you want to go from the bottom of the wick to the top of the body. So from the bottom of the wick to the top of the body every time. And then I already have my template set up, but if you don't have your template set up, you go into settings, change the color to green, and then you type the zone. It's a pain in the butt. Setting up your templates is going to kind of suck, but it's not too difficult once you have them. So that is a 1 month zone. And let's just go ahead and chart the rest of these zones. So this is a better example of a demand zone right here. So we have a falling red hammer, flat body, perfect price balance, and then boom, massive upside. So this is a very strong monthly demand zone here at 93.73 is where it starts. And I'm not getting these super perfect right now, just for the sake of it, but you want to get these to the penny, because a lot of the times to the penny is where it bounces. Here's another one right here. You see how we have this hammer formed, flat red basing candle followed by a massive green candle. When you want to look for demand zones, you want to look for like an exaggerated move to the upside. Something that would be like, it's a fast enough move to where it would leave buy orders unfilled. So there's another one right here. And a lot of times you'll have zones kind of overlapping like this. Um, there we go. Let's turn that into month. Perfect. And here's another one right here. With these zones, these aren't quite as strong, but I always chart them. I do expect charts to blow through them, but this is technically a zone. We got about half the body, a red candle. It is much flatter than this, and this is an exaggerated move to the upside. So I am charting this as a demand zone. So from the top of the body to the bottom of the wick. And you want to drag these out into the future because these zones last forever until they are broken. So when you chart these, you want to drag your rectangles to the right into the future. And just clear as day right here, we have a, let me move this to the right. You want to get these next to the candle so you can see. We have a demand zone bounce right here, just clear as day, monthly demand. And now here's a little something about zones. So the bigger the time frame is, the stronger the zone is. So you would take swing trades off of monthly, weekly, and sometimes even daily demand zones. Because those are the zones that'll bounce things the hardest for the longest duration of the time.
Does this work on?
Was that?
Does this work on stocks as well, or just options?
It works for all. It works for stocks, mid cap to big cap. You can't use it for penny stocks because institutions don't trade penny stocks. They can get pumped and dumped by retail. It's the same thing. It's like this, for example. I play options on these because I have more leverage and I can make more profit off of zone reversals. But if you have more leverage in your portfolio, you can buy shares right here at this bounce at $9 and ride it up, to 34. It's up to you. I only play options because it's a lot more profitable. So now we finished the monthly. There are no supply zones for me to show you. So these are the monthly supply zones. These are areas of major support. Now we go to the weekly. Let me go ahead and turn all these indicators off so you guys can see what's actually going on here. And you guys don't need to pay. You guys don't need the paid version of TradingView. Oh, I made that full size. You guys don't need the paid version of TradingView. All right, there we go. So you got to keep in mind, you have to chart every time frame because there are a lot of zones you cannot see in any other time frame besides that one. Like there is I can go over an example later where there's a very important zone in the 3-hour chart that you would never see in any other charts. So now we're on the weekly. So it's basically rinse and repeat from here. So we're looking for red basing candles followed by a massive move to the upside. So green candle. So I'm looking at all these candles, nothing here, nothing here. Boom, here's one right here. This is a very strong, this is a very big demand zone right here. So we're going to chart from the bottom of the wick to the top of the body right there. I'm going to bring it all the way across into the future. And then this is, I like to label, always label everything so I can go back and see, okay, where did I pull this demand zone from? This monthly is actually like right here. This monthly was formed right here by this move up. This was a big red candle on the monthly. We had a massive move up that formed a monthly demand zone right here. Look at this demand zone bounce right here on this monthly demand zone formed a month before. Once you get practicing and actually get charting, it'll be like magic how some of these things work. So looking for more weekly demand zones. We have one right here formed off this bounce. It's a more clear picture of this bounce right here. Perfect bounce. And I'll show you guys how to actually play these, how to get volume price confirmation of an entry on these zones, because just because something hits a zone doesn't mean you should enter. So there's another weekly demand zone right there. And for the first time in this live, we have a weekly supply zone. So with supply zones, demand zones are the easiest to see because naturally you read up. But supply zones are the exact opposite. So you're looking for a green basing candle followed by a giant red candle down or a bearish engulfing. So a perfect example, I'm going through looking for supply zones. Here was one right here. This was a supply zone right here. Now obviously it's disqualified. So once a zone is broken, it's gone. You don't use it again. It's gone. So naturally, when you chart supply zones, just like the demand zones, you chart from bottom to top. Now in stocks like Apple, you don't need to go all the way down to $50 and chart every zone. You chart every zone in relevance to you. So with supply zones, this is the biggest one right here. This is a supply zone right here. We have price balance. You see these huge wicks. That means price is becoming balanced in this week, and we have a flat body followed by a massive move to the downside. So we chart these the exact opposite of demand zones. So you go from the bottom of the body to the top of the wick, all the way up. And that is a supply zone. Usually supply zones aren't nearly this wide, but that's just the way it worked out this time. And you can see it entered the supply zone here, got rejected, and now it's sitting back in this weekly supply zone, which is super strong for this stock. Here was another supply zone right here. This was a supply zone, and if we were to chart this before this happened, this was a weekly supply zone, so it was very strong. So you see how we have a bearish engulfing and a flat body. This is a textbook supply zone right here.
What are you using to chart this out, these supply zones?
TradingView.
Is it like a plugin? Is it like a widget? Like what tool would you use to do this?
Right. So on your left hand side, there's a toolbar, right? And this is what it looks like, just stock, right? If you go to this brush, these are where your geometric shapes are. If you click this little arrow, boom, you have rectangles right here. And that's how I do that. Let me just escape that. So right here, we have this supply zone. This was a weekly supply. And if you look how this played out, from the bottom of the body to the top of wick, and this was bearish engulfing, look how this played out. Hit the zone, got rejected on high volume, and when you zoom into the time frames,
SPCE, right?
Yeah, this is first SPCE. This is what I'm using for an example right now. It got rejected beautifully, and that's a perfect short play. I get these all the time. It even rejected right here again upon entering, but it finally got enough to get through it. But this supply zone's gone because it's invalidated now. So these are all the weekly zones. Now this stock has a lot of weekly zones close to each other because it hasn't moved a ton. But there are a lot of bounces that are very easy to see. All right, so now you go to the daily, and so on and so forth. So we're looking for demand zones here. Boom, here's a demand zone right here. Perfect doji, tiny body, price balance, massive move to the upside. That's a textbook demand zone. And I'm not going to go into the hourly and stuff like that on this chart. There are some charts I will do that with. But I'm just giving you guys the idea of it. And I'll give you guys a couple examples of plays I called on Friday based off these zones. So there are no demand zones right here on the daily chart. There is one right here. This right here is technically a demand zone right here. Why? Because it's a bullish engulfing. And what was that?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to learn it. So the monthly and the 1 day, how did you calculate that with the type of charting?
What do you mean? Oh,
you see it. Yeah.
Right. So these months. How did I get these monthly demand zones?
Right.
So
I just did the 5-0. I just did the 5-0 in place, and I see you have 16 and some change as a 1 month demand zone.
Right.
And then on the 5-0, it's fairly close to it. It's at 1452.
Right. So sometimes these do line up. So monthlies, it's the exact same way. So I'm working right to left, and I'm looking at the candles. Boom. Monthly demand. I need to raise that up. You want to get your demand zones as accurate as possible. I'm not on magnet mode because I'm not trying to lag. Here's another one right here. Another monthly demand zone right here where it perfectly bounced. And then same thing for the weeks. So it's literally the exact same method. You start at the highest time frame and work down. So I'm just going to finish the daily on this chart real quick. And the tricky thing about charting zones when you're first starting off is you're going to see stuff like this right here. This was a zone that got broken through. This was a zone that got broken through. So if you have a chart that's up and down, it's actually a lot easier because you know everything above this level over here is not a demand zone. So this is a demand zone right here. And I'm not going to go all the way down into oblivion. Boom, another demand zone right there. I'm not going to chart it all the way out because I want to get through this ticker because there's a couple I want to look at. Another demand zone right there. That's done. I'm looking for exaggerated moves to the upside. This was a weekly demand zone. Here's another demand zone right here. You see this from the bottom of the wick to top of body. I'm not going to chart that because I got a million zones right here. But on a stock, you want to do a lot of technical analysis on that. It's something that you chart. And I can tell you, every single one of these bounces that happen here are on demand zones. Every single one of them. They're just not all on the daily. That's why you have to go through every single time. Like, for example, this was a demand zone right here, right? You see this demand zone on the daily? We have it's almost a doji. Red basing candle followed by massive move to upside. So bottom of the wick, the top of body. Look where this thing bounced right here. Bang. Perfect entry play. And even bounce again. And even bounce again off the bottom. You see this bottom bounce right here? Bang, bang, bang. Even one more, and then it's through, and then it's done. Now, same thing for supply zones. So now we got to look at supply zones. It's kind of a crappy chart to do it.
You know what's crazy about the charting that you're doing?
Yeah.
It's actually very. It has like a lot of edge to it, and honestly, I find it very intriguing because all these monthly demand zones that you're charting out right now, they fall exactly in between monthly support price line on the Fibonacci, and they end right before resistance.
Right.
The next level. It's like you're grabbing an area in between support and resistance on the monthly chart. Exactly in between, like not touching any of the lines. So it's like, it's crazy. It's like makes sense, right?
Yep. So this supply zone doesn't exist anymore, but this is an example for y'all of another reverse. Like this is just normal. It just happens all the time. This is a perfect supply zone. We have a green basing candle followed by an exaggerated move to the downside, a big red candle, and this is another supply zone right here. That got broken through. So with this supply zone, remember, for supply zones, I'll go a little bit more into supply zones because I gave demand a little bit too much love because I've been playing a lot more supply zones recently. Because the market, I don't like how high the market is right now. But regardless, even on the day that SPY went up $5, all my alerts were shorts and they were all like 30% profit. So here's a supply zone from the bottom of the body to the top of wick. Right here, drag it all the way across. Boom, got rejected once. Got rejected twice, right at the top of the zones. And keep in mind, more from experience of charting these zones, more times than not, things either get rejected the second that they hit the zone or the last possible point in the zone. They do get rejected in the middle, like right here. This is a big zone bounce here, 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 all over the place. But when something is entering a zone and when something is at the top of the zone, that's where you look for it the closest. You see this massive volume spike right here as it enters this zone on the daily. When you see a volume spike, that's confirmation that those limits that are theorized to be there are being filled and traded, and it's reversing the stock. And I'll give real-time examples of real-time with quotes around it of that. So here's a supply zone right here. Now here is the thing about charting engulfing. So I haven't gotten to this yet because I haven't had an example yet. So I went over how to chart demand zones, supply zones from bottom of wick to top of the body. Now you have a true engulfing, right? So how do you chart engulfing? It's a little bit different. There are two ways to chart: the chart I've been charting and then this kind of charting right here. So normally, based off what I've been telling you, you chart from the bottom of the body to the top of that wick right there, that green wick. But since it's an engulfing, you want to take it all the way to the top of the engulfing wick. Or if this were a demand zone, you take it all the way to the bottom of the wick. And that is a daily supply zone right there. And it stands true for demand zones too. And then as I go down the time frames, I'm gonna have more and more and more zones. I made that demand. And the reason why I use SPCE as an example is just because literally just because this was a chart that I didn't already have filled out. So like these charts take forever to do. But these charts, I've had a lot of strategies. These charts are the most profitable because you catch the bottoms and tops of things that you wouldn't be able to catch using any other strategies as often. So let's check out NEO real quick. I'm gonna give you some examples of some bounces. Why not? So let's go to CRM. So let's go to this is an old. You can see I charted this when this stock was like up here, right? So this isn't an updated chart. So I'm not going to rechart this entire chart. I'm just going to show you some examples of this stuff working because it does. It's mind-blowing how great this stuff works. So on the monthly, not too much on the monthly. So we have a demand zone right here. If we were to chart this demand zone right here, I'm just going to give some examples, just easy swing examples. Here's a monthly demand. This is a massive monthly demand zone. It's supposed to be green, but I'm not going to do it. Look at these bounces it does out of the zone. And in fact, I didn't even know this actually. Hang on. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, I didn't even know this. I didn't even chart this far down on anything. Monthly demand, the strongest demand there is. Why is this a monthly demand? I charted it off. Hang on. I screwed this up. It's supposed to be right here. It's supposed to be right there. Perfect. This bounce is right there. Bang, bang, and then right up. And then this bounce right here was off of a smaller. Let's see if I can find this zone real quick. Maybe it was on a daily. I don't remember. I've only seen, I think, 2 reversals in my entire life not bounce directly on zone. So let's memorize the price of this. About 115. There she is. Boom. All right.
This is targeting larger investors like whale investors and institutions, right? Where they would want to come in on a stock, right, and sell.
Right.
Buy and sell, right?
Yes, you are playing. Yes, you are taking advantage of institutional limit orders. So you see how that it dipped under my monthly demand zone. I told you everything bounces in a zone. It just does. So I went to the daily because generally daily's easy to find stuff, and we have a zone right here. This is a bullish engulfing right here. And as you do this, you'll become more natural about just seeing things quicker. We have a couple demand zones. Here's one right here, another one right here, and this one might be prettier. Let me zoom out a bunch. Right, so we are looking at, which drop are we looking at? Let me get the exact price of this bottom so I can chart the right one. All right, I know which one I'll chart. All right. So typically, you'd have all these charted. You have this one charted, and then this one charted, which overlap just a tad. So I'm just going to do this zone right here. We all see how this is a zone now. Boom, there we go. And you just take this and drag this all the way across. And in fact, you know what? That one got invalidated. You see right here how it dipped under that zone? I can see that zone got invalidated. I'm trying to save a little bit of time with this. I'm just giving y'all examples for some faith in this. Because once you guys see how this stuff, how often these things hit, it's mind blowing. In fact, this bounce right here was created right here. All right, nope, that wasn't it either. The second something goes a penny under your demand zone, there we go. It's invalidated. You can't have an invalidated zone. Move this up a little bit to match the candle. There you go. So we have a bounce right there. That's just an example bounce, and they happen all the time. And sometimes you can't see them. Like sometimes, like this bounce right here, I can't see this bounce unless I go to like the hourly time frame and pull it. That's why you chart every single zone. The reason why I pulled CRM is because of a play I made off a bounce that happened right here. 1 hour. All right. So back when I played CRM.
So you went short on this play, or you went long?
Long. So when you look at the history of a stock and you see a massive move to the upside like this, you try to find zones on the daily, weekly, and monthly. You need a red candle for it to be a demand zone. Vice versa. Like this is a supply zone right here. Just glancing at it, you need a green candle for supply, and you need a red candle for demand. There's no exceptions. If it's a green candle, it cannot be a demand. So this was a demand zone right here. This flat red basing candle followed by this, right? And this was an hourly demand that went untouched for months. And I charted it because gaps get filled. And if you come back where I was playing it up here, look where it fell. Hang on, let me zoom in. Look where this wick touched 3 months later. Right at the bottom of the zone after 3 months of not being touched, and look at the volume of shares traded. And in fact, I think this zone went on to bounce a stock multiple more times down the road. Like right here, yep. These zones last until they get broken. Bang, right here. Look at all these bounces out of this zone. And then finally gets broken. That's one example. Let me go to Neo, which I just played the other day on Friday. So let me go to let's go to the weekly. So I'd start on the monthly, but with Neo, there's not much monthly. It's just giant red candles, right? So weekly demands. Let's just go through this real quick for you. So weekly demand right here. Notice how this is engulfing. This is engulfing candle. So normally you take it from the. I'm looking at this candle right now. So normally you take from the top of the body to the bottom of the wick, or vice versa. But since it's engulfing, you take from the top of the body to the bottom of this engulfing candle. Right here. Here's another engulfing right here. Take this all the way down. Here's another zone right here. Right here. Right here. And right now in the market, especially in tech, there aren't much supply zones because a lot of stocks are at all-time highs. So you can't use supply zones to short stocks when they're at all-time high because it's never been higher. You can only use supply zones when it's not at an all-time high. There was a high previously, and I left a supply zone there. So not much on the weekly. Let's go to the daily. And this is where we should start getting stuff. Demand zone here, a bunch of little demand zones. Nothing choppy, no demand zones. Nope, no demand zones on the daily. Let's go to the 4-hour supply. This is the one that I played right here. So now I'm at the 4-hour supply. So now I'm in a close enough time frame, or now I have some supply zones. On tech stocks like Apple, which just broke all-time highs, there aren't any. So here's a supply zone right here. You have a flat basing green candle followed by a massive red candle to the downside. So you would chart this from the bottom of the body to the top of the wick. Remember, demand zones are from the bottom of the wick to the top of the body. Supply zones are the opposite, top of wick to bottom of the body. An easy way to think about it is if you're charting supply zones, you're leaving out the bottom because supply zones are over something. Same thing with demand zones. You're leaving out the top because you're charting the bottom of something. This was a reversal. Let me chart this perfectly to the candle. Here's one example right here. Check this bounce out from this 4-hour demand zone. Look at this bounce. Perfect, right on it. So this supply zone got invalidated. It's gone. Next one is right here, which was a bearish engulfing. So from the bottom of the body, it would be at the top of the wick, but since it's engulfing, you'd go to the top of the red candle. And this is what I'm going to show you for the example. So on Friday, keep in mind that zone's there. Now, NEO, I don't have a ton of zones for it because I haven't updated this chart. Because, like, the thing about zones is you chart your zones in advance. So, like, on Sundays before market opens, you chart your watch list and you get ready to play rejections all week. And then at night, a couple times a week, you update your list. You update your chart because new zones are formed. So I'm going to go to the 5-minute chart for NEO. I'm actually going to go to the 1 minute. So this was that 4-hour supply that I told you about. And this is a play I called on Friday because of it. So NEO is mooning on Friday. Absolutely, it's just going up. This is all the 22nd. Yes, it is. All right. So NEO's going up. I don't have any major supply zones until this supply zone. So automatically, I know where it's going. You see this insane volume? It's on news. It's going up. And things like the nice thing about zones, not only do you play reversals, which do have the highest probability, but I can run calls all the way up to the zone because I know where it's probably going to get rejected. That's how I predict a lot of things. So we were watching NEO run, and NEO finally got over 60, got over 61, and it got to here, and then it started to reject on high volume. Now, some people got baited into shorts. Why, yes, this is a profitable play. I knew this was going to come back. Why? Because never does anything bounce in the void. Never does it bounce in the void, ever. It'll always come back at some point. So this is a prime example of that. And I didn't play it on Friday for that reason because I was watching NEO like a hawk. And sure enough, it came right back to that zone. Right there. Now, it hit this zone, and it got all the way up to 6180, but I wasn't watching it at the time it hit the zone. I was scrolling through my charts. I noticed that it was in the zone. Now, typically, when you want something to hit, when you want a permanent reversal of a zone, you want volume like this. This is the prime volume we want. This will tell you, all right, it's going down. You can swing off this volume. So I was watching this, and you watch volume very closely. When something hits a zone, you watch the volume. If it's going into your zone and there's no volume, you can't play off of it. So you want volume, and then you want candlestick confirmation off of this zone. So when I alerted a short, the reason why I alerted a short is it hit this zone, it ran up on high volume, and this was all low volume right here. This is low volume. I can't alert off this. I'm watching it. I see it dip down. But the volume is so low. If it has low volume and rejects a zone, it will retest it every time. And it did retest it on this candle, which wasn't even a big candle. But look at this spike in volume here on this candle. Keep in mind, look at the size of this candle compared to this one. This tiny one, this is the smallest candle up here, but it had the most volume because this is the first candle that retested the zone. So I called the short at 61.73. Off of this next candle because you don't want to go the second you have high volume. You want a candlestick confirmation. So I saw it re-enter again. It started coming down, alerted the short. And by the time the short got to here, this was 120% short. I alerted the contracts in voice at 33 cents and they ran to 70 cents. So around 115% short. But in the grand scheme of things, this wasn't high volume. You want this volume when you play a zone bounce. So this is like scalping volume right here. And sure enough, it did retest it. It came back to the zone and rejected the zone twice, actually. Right here. And this was high volume right here. Rejected it again. Boom. Shot down. Finally worked its way back into the zone. and now it's sitting here in this zone. So now I kind of expect NIO, if it doesn't gap down out of this zone, I expect it to work up to the top. Another prime example of zones working in your favor and playable zones, Apple. Now, I deleted all the supply zones because Apple's actually like 140 extended hours. I don't turn my extended hours on, by the way, for zone charting. That's where it's at right now. I don't turn my extended hours on for zone charting, just to clear that up. So let's chart some zones for Apple real quick. So I'm going to go to the weekly. I know there's nothing on the monthly. This stock is just very high right now. So as we can see, we got demand zone here. We got demand zone here. That didn't chart. Demand zone here. Demand zone here. I'm looking for an example, so I'm not going to chart this entire chart for you just yet. And I know specifically what I am charting. Once I pull this up, it'll make a lot of sense. All right. So this didn't happen yet. Pretend like this isn't here, right? Pretend like this isn't here. In fact, I'm gonna draw a I'm gonna draw a box over this so we don't see this, because this is just an example. Go to settings, and by the way, since I'm in settings, this is where you pick your text color. This is where you type your text to the box. Style. This is where you change the color of the box. So I'm gonna change this to black. Turn the opacity all the way up. Boom, it's gone. All right. So I had a lot of zones charted for Apple because I've been playing it. Here's a supply zone right here. This is a 4-hour supply zone. Where in the heck did my box? All right, it's just glitching. Here's one supply zone right here. Oh, I just realized that. Yeah. All right. One supply zone right there. I know it's black. Give me a second. It's a 4-hour supply. And notice how I have my template set up for these. 4-hour supply right there. Another 4-hour supply right here, and these are all engulfing. Engulfing candles are the most common supply zone candles recently because there's been a lot of exaggerated moves in the market. 4-hour right here, and you can already start to see some reversals happening here. This was an hourly zone that I'll show you in a second. It might have been an hourly, but here's already a reversal right here on high volume. So those are two zones I see on the 4-hour. Let's actually work down because I'm going to rechart this section of my chart. So nothing else for that. All right. Go to 2-hour. That's technically demand supply, but that's not what I'm looking at. All right. 1 hour. I'm going to show you guys where I got this demand zone. Right here. See this? And this actually needs to go down a little bit because this is an engulfing candle. You see how this is an engulfing candle right here? So I chart to the bottom of the green candle. There we go. All right, so that's how I said, that's how these zones were established. Obviously I had a lot more zones. I had some I don't think I went past hourly actually. So this is all the zones I had at the time. This was another zone right here. This was another supply right here. You see how this is a flat green doji candle followed by a big red candle to the downside. So that was a supply zone right here. And the only reason why I charted that just so randomly is because look at this rejection that happened off that zone. All right, so this is where it starts getting interesting. Let me go to I'll go to the 5-minute chart to show you guys what's been happening in these zones with Apple. Look at these reversals for Apple, and look how you can capitalize. This is a prime example, and this was this month. We had that hourly demands. I showed you how I charted it. This was the 4-hour supply right here. Boom, one bounce. See this volume spike that happens as it enters? Look at this volume run up as it enters right here. Boom, one bounce. all the way up. Sure, it forms more little. And by the way, 5-minute demand zones, 15-minute. The smaller the time frame the zones are, the weaker they are. So I don't chart anything under 30-minute. In fact, I don't even really chart anything under an hour if it's not like a top stock for me. And in fact, I think let me go and chart another supply zone here. That'll help us even a little bit more. I think there's another supply zone if I remember correctly. Somewhere around here. If I don't find it, it's alright. But I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around here. Maybe not. There's a smaller one right here. Alright, I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, so look, this is the 5-minute chart. Just take a look.
5 minutes of Apple, right?
Yes, I'm on the 5-minute for Apple. So imagine you're trading live right now. You have these zones charted. So say the chart's right here, right? The chart's right here. It's falling out of this. It just created a supply. It's falling out of its supply. Your next demand is this hourly. Bang, 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounce. Finally, we get a bounce that's sustained. Look at the massive volume on these bounces, by the way. Look at these. This was intraday. This wasn't even opening. This was huge volume. This volume, look at this. Just look at this volume. Hang on, let me try to scroll in so you can see this. This was intraday right here. This wasn't even opening volume. This was opening volume right here. Look at the massive volume on these bounces. These are the volume you want when you play true demand zone reversals and supply zone reversals. So bang, we get 3 bounces so far. 1, 2, 3. Our first supply zone right here. Orders filled. Orders filled. Sends it down. Bang, another bounce. Right. Look at the massive volume on these bounces. To the point too. The second it's been touching, it hasn't even been bouncing in the middle. And bang, look at all these retests right here. Look at all these retests. And this is where I came in 2 days ago. And I alerted Apple shorts. Let me see if I can delete this zone. I was sitting here scalping Apple like it was nothing. This zone is supposed to be down a tad more. Let me see here. Yeah, this zone is supposed to be that zone was formed right here. So there's a zone formed right here. It might have been 30-minute. Was it 30-minute? Trying to pull up this example for y'all. Is this candle? I think it was this candle. Maybe not. But you can just sit here and scalp these zones. It's always harder to go and find zones that you deleted. I hate doing it. There's a smaller zone somewhere up here that filled that little gap. This, you know what? This might have to be a little bit more down. I think this is down like a couple pennies. Let's get that down just a tad. But anyways, yeah, I played this little scalp right here. Neo for on Friday. I already showed you guys that. AMD, another play that I did. Check out the bounces that have been happening on AMD. This zone doesn't exist anymore. Here's one that we played. Right here. And this zone, let's take a look at how this zone formed. We have daily demand right here. Let's look at this week zone. Look at this weekly. Look at this weekly demand zone bounce. All these zone bounces happen all the time. It's insane how often these zones happen. Let me see if I can find any good examples for you guys. Because I've pretty much gone over how to chart them, how to play them. Do you guys have any questions regarding this? Do you guys want me to chart another example ticker so you guys can get it down better? What are you guys thinking right now? Nalo, how you feeling about this? Oh, here's one right here. Yeah, I played this short right here. This one right here. That was an easy one. In fact, let me go to the monthly chart for Baidu real quick. I'll show you some. Now, this is a chart where you can really utilize the monthly. This monthly supply was formed right here to here, bottom of body, top wick, boom, that's a monthly supply. Here's another monthly supply that I played. It doesn't exist anymore, but I'm going to show this for the sake of the example. There's another monthly supply. Let's just call this a 3-hour supply, so we'll recognize it, right? Let's go back to the 15-minute chart. I played this right here and right here. I played these. I shorted this when it hit this monthly supply. Hit it again. Fell. Hit the top of it again. Fell. Finally broke out of it in the monthly. Fell again. Such easy. It's so simple to play these.
So these are mostly effective on the large cap stocks.
Right. Yes, because you can't play them on penny stocks because there's no institutional trading. TradingView can't even look at penny stocks because they're not liquid enough. Now, on some penny stocks, like $5 stocks, I've seen them work, but you don't get consistency because all you need is one big buy order and it'll moon the stock. Too manipulated to play these. Snapchat, that was another decent play I made. Oh, I still have this zone. I don't know why I still have it. So this zone right here, this 4-hour supply. Let me show you where this actually happened. I alerted this. So I'm just going through examples right now. So there's a 4-hour demand here, 4-hour demand here. This was some bounces that happened. Here was a 4-hour. This demand is still active though. Right here, this is engulfing, so we're charting it all the way to the bottom of that green candle right there. 4-hour demand. Yeah, look at these bounces that happen all the time. But this supply zone right here, from here to here, because keep in mind, we have a balanced green candle followed by a fat red candle to the downside. Don't let the wicks distract you. If something has long wicks and a short body, that's a story to you. That's a story of how the stock went from imbalance. That stock balances itself out after buyers and sellers fighting over the price, and finally they narrowed it down to a tight range, and that became balanced within this 4-hour zone. So that's where that supply came from. And now if we go to the, let's just go to the 5-minute. If we go to the 5-minute chart and go back in time, this was a crazy demand zone bounce right here. Here's one. Look at the volume spike that happened on this candle. This volume went all the way up to here. Look at 15K volume compared to 27K volume. That's what it was. Another demand zone bounce here. And then we shorted this right at the top of this supply zone to the penny. This supply zone hit. And it happens all the time. Once you get efficient at charting these zones, it's super easy to play these reversals. It's extremely easy. And look, it even rejected this zone. If I extend this zone out, it even rejected the same top of this zone again. And then it finally got out of it. And I'm teaching you guys how to chart zones before I have a big options lesson, because if you can start charting and you can start practicing and watching these reversals happen and get comfortable with your charting, then you can learn how to actually trade your charting, and you'll go in with some confidence like, hey, this is going to work. Because options are a risky game, and you want to enter option trades that give you a good probability. Very important that you understand how these zones are formed and why. and how to chart them. Very important how to chart them. It does get tricky sometimes. Sometimes as you're actually going through it, it's really easy in hindsight. But I guarantee there's gonna, like, while you're still new, there's gonna be some zones like, hey, is this considered a zone? And you can just send that to me and I'll tell you yes or no. And as you see these zones work, your confidence will build and you'll actually be able to play these reversals yourself. This isn't hard, guys. It's really as easy as it looks. Like I already showed you Apple, SBCE, CRM. Every stock in my watch list has had major zone bounces in its history. Like I'm just going to Microsoft, for example. This is an old chart. Here's a weak demand bounce right here. Look at this bounce that happened right here on Microsoft on this demand zone right here. Here, gapped up, left that zone there. Hit this daily, look at this daily supply right here that it hit, rejected. Easy stuff. What was your question?
We are still on the Snapchat.
What was that?
We are still on the Snapchat.
You guys are still on the Snapchat right now? All right, hang on. Why? I don't know why you guys are stuck on that.
There's a little bit of screen lag on your share.
Really? Let me restart my share for you guys. But is everyone getting an idea of is everyone starting to get a little bit comfortable with the idea of how I actually pull up how I chart these zones?
Yeah, so I just because I don't have much time, I want to just like confirm just a couple things I have like written down, like the basis ideas, make sure I can practice this week.
Right.
So I mean, obviously the most important things: demand zone, bottom of the wick, top of the body.
Yep.
After a strong breakout, supply zones, bottom of the body to the top of the wick.
Yep.
And kind of a reversal on high volume.
Yep.
So, like if you're going to take away anything, that would be the most important thing.
Yes. Yeah, that would be the most important thing, and you cannot play it without...
Right.
What was that?
Hold on 1 second. My mic's busted.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
You see how Microsoft kind of off at 232?
Yep.
Yeah, it's looking like reversal in the making here.
Yep. So I'm on the daily chart right now. This stocks like this and Amazon are a pain to do demand zones. Look how many candles there are and look how volatile it is. But still beneficial. So what I'm going to get at right here is just a quick example. So here's two daily supplies. So this one was the first one created. Now this isn't a super flat candle, but in comparison to this, it's pretty dang flat. This is extremely imbalanced price action that left sellers up here. So since it's not an engulfing, from the bottom of the body to the top of wick, right here, you chart that zone out, and it's good to go. And here's one play that we alerted off that. It was a while ago. This was a while ago, man. Going to the 5-minute chart. There we go, right there. Bang. So it came down, bounced in this demand zone. Look where it got rejected. Right there. Easy short play. And this rejection created another daily supply zone on the daily chart. This full day this was a green candle. This full day, since it gapped up so hard, this was a green candle. This was a red candle the next day. Formed a supply zone right there on the daily. And now if you scroll, it got rejected right on the top where this overlapping. You can delete all these other things. Yeah, let's just get rid of those real quick. So now we have slightly over...
Your screen is still loading for me.
Really? It's still loading?
Let me pull back and relaunch.
Can anyone else see my screen? Can everyone else see okay? Yes, Liam, can you see?
Yes.
Right.
I can see it.
All right. So this was the new daily supply that formed. Look where it got rejected. Right at the top. Every single stock, I can pull up any stock right now and spot a zone rejection. Let's just go to Fisker, for example, since I don't even remember. Oh, yeah. I remember why this is on my watch list. The 1455 pounds. Go to the weekly. Now, I normally start the monthly, but the stock hasn't been around for super long, as you can see right here. This is one of the few cases that it bounced on nothing since the stock went lower than it's ever been before. One example of this was a weekly supply zone. I'm not going to sit here and zoom in and on like the smaller time frames and show you. This was a weekly supply zone formed right here. This was a bearish engulfing and a balanced candle. So from bottom of buy, top of wick. And if you look at this candle, it hit the top of this zone right here. In fact, if I draw this across real quick for you. Right there. It hit the top of this supply zone and fell a full dollar from it, which isn't too much on this stock. It is actually a lot. I mean, that was one reversal that happened. Not much on the weekly chart though. Let's go to the daily. Yeah, here we go. There's the daily demand right here. Bottom of body, top of wick. You see the reason why this was formed right here. You look at this bounce that happened a while later. Bang, bounced, and that created new support right on that 1450 level. And you can see that, like, technically, if you really want to get into technicals here, there was a smaller demand zone that was formed right here. But like just looking at the daily, another demand zone here, and it bounced on the bottom of this demand zone twice, no, 3 times so far. For 3 days, it bounced on this daily demand. And the reason why this was a demand zone here, this body, this candle, is a bullish engulfing. And that's just a quick example. I can go to every single chart and look at past reversals because they always happen. But you're charting that this is a completely new style. This is a completely different style of charting. When you make your charts, you can predict, like, if something's sitting in a strong demand zone and you got a supply zone, a couple bucks overhead, you say, yeah, it's going to bounce out of here and go. But for scalping and trading these tickers, a lot of times you chart these zones in preparation for the future. So you have these zones, and as the market day is going, you're scrolling through your watch list here, and you're playing these reversals all day long. And it's the best and most consistent way there is to catch the tip tops and bottoms of things, because with other strategies it just isn't really possible. The Fibos work, but there's not nearly as many perfect reversals right on the Fibonacci line. And I even use this on the market. I even use this not on SPY. I use it on ES. And the COVID crash bounce on the demand zone. I mean, look at this. Look at this. See, like, I'm already on the daily demand zone. Boom. Here's one daily demand zone right here. See this red hammer followed by this massive green upside candle? Boom, that formed a zone. Look where it bounced for 3 days in a row. Boom, boom, boom. Right here. Look at this one right here. Oh, wait, this was a complete. Is this a week? Yeah, let's go to the week real quick. And this is used to catch the market. In that fact, the market just formed another daily demand zone. What caught my eye right there? Look, see this weekly demand zone right here? This is a beautiful demand zone right here. So from top of body to bottom of wick, look what happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Look what happened 9 weeks later, even 14 weeks later. You catch these every time right here on the 3-hour chart, or on in this weekly demand zone right here. Top of body, bottom of wick. Look where this wick bounced, right there. And in fact, it even bounced right here 2 weeks later. The COVID crash bounced on a tiny zone way back in the past. In fact, I don't even know if I can find it. Where is this? What was the price of this? Let's see if we can find the zone for the COVID crash right here. 21.74 is the bottom. I'm on the weekly chart, so I don't expect to. Was it 21.74? Is that what I said?
This is the futures?
Yeah, this is just futures. This is just the S&P, so it's SPY. This is SPY. But the reason why I chart zones on ES, which is SPY futures, instead of SPY itself, because with futures, zones are formed, outside, because their trading day is, what was it, 25.5 or whatever. It runs. It's a lot more open than the zone. So zones are created overnight in futures, and SPY bounces off those zones that you won't be able to see by charting SPY. All right, 2170 is where this is. I don't think this is it right here. I'm trying to find 2170. Yeah, I need 2170. That ain't gonna work. Let's go to the monthly real quick. Let's see. I don't think it's on the monthly. It might be a daily. I want to find. I had this charted a while back. If you had SPY charted all the way down, you could have caught the where the crash happened. And this is laggy. I'm loading like so much candles right now. Just bear with me here. Let me go all the way down. All right, here we go. There it is. I think this is it. Boys. I think this is where COVID bounced right here. Is this right here? Yep. This candle right here, this daily candle, and the closer that you get in the time frames, like with the bigger zones, you have these wider rectangles. Like this is a huge rectangle, and inside the zones, you have narrower zones, so where you can predict the exact point it's going to bounce inside of these zones. So right here, this slight bullish engulfing, but this is a balanced candle followed by a move to the upside. This is another demand zone formed right here that this bounced out of, but we're not looking at this. We're looking at this beautiful candle right here. And so we're going to chart this. And I'm going to memorize these points. So from 2184 to 2176. Oh, no, wrong candle. My bad. All right. 2179 to 2168. So I'm going to chart this right there, 2168, and it goes to 2179 flat. Now with a mouse, I could chart it and then just drag it over, but I'm on touchpad, so I gotta do it the hard way. I hate loading this much candles because it really tanks it just really kills my computer, but. All right, remember 2179 is where it bounced. Daily demand zone. 2179, 2179. I gotta zoom in here for this one. My poor computer. My poor laptop. All right. 21. Oh my gosh, this is flat. This is flat. Remember, it was 2168, 2179. Oh, that's a little too flat. That'll do. 25 cents off. Look where COVID bounced. Nothing bounces when it's not on a demand zone. You guys see that?
It's broken in money.
What's that?
The screen looks floaty here.
The screen looks foggy right now? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah. It looks brilliant.
All right. Just give it a second. The recording's picking it up, but let me stop the stream and restart it real quick for you. I'm loading like a year and a half worth of candles. It's not the move here. All right. Let me know when you guys can see clearly.
Yeah, I can see it.
Everyone can see?
Yep.
So look at this zone. This is the COVID crash, right? Let me zoom out a bit. You see this? You see this green box down here? From 2179 to 2168. That's the zone. That is a daily zone. So it's strong. That COVID bounced off of. The entire market bounced off of to the cent. It's literally to the cent of the bottom of the zone. Let me know if my screen gets foggy while I'm scrolling out. Let me zoom out a ton. In fact, let me turn this opacity of this box all the way up so you guys can see it clearly. There we go. Okay, that's the zone right there. Let's zoom out. Keep your eye on this zone. I'm going to move this zone out of the way a little bit. Oh, don't want that. I want this. Hang on. Move this out of the way just a tad. Boom. Look where that zone was charted right there. Top of body to bottom of the wick. How did we know this was a strong zone in the first place? Look what happened a week and a half later. Bang. Bounce off of it again. And that is where COVID bounced. And every single bounce I have ever seen in my life, unless it made a new low, has been off of demand. Every single one. I have never not seen one that bounced in no man's land. And when they do bounce in no man's land, they always come back to where they should. All these bounces right here in futures, right here, even the 2008, those all happen on demand and supply zones. All of them. Every time. And now here we are. And you can see kind of this zone was formed right here. Look at the bounces that happened on this one. Right here. All the time. In fact, this just formed finally. This is a supply zone. So now I get to chart this. Right there. Chart it for quite a ways out. All right, there you go. So now, SPY finally has a supply zone. So yeah, everything bounces on zones all the time. Like this was a big play right here. My buddies actually played this play right here. This zone bounce on SPY. That was a massive one. And they even played this right here. This was a big one too on the 3 hour. So if you're able to chart a demand zone and predict the exact point of the bottom of the crash, this stuff works. It just works. It's the most consistent thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah,
it works pretty good.
I'm excited to, now that I see how that works with COVID, I'm excited to go and spend a good amount of time plotting the futures for, when this bubble finally does burst. I'd love to just play every supply and demand the whole way down. And that's, I guess that was what we had talked about anyways. And now, just to be able to, to learn and contribute to the idea is, this is great.
Right. And the reason why I'm, what was that?
What's the ticker for this? ES1?
No. If you go on Thinkers, ES is just futures. So if you go on a broker, /ES is usually what it is. If for Webull, it might be, if you look up ES, it might be /ES. I know for Thinkorswim it's /ES. If you just look up ES, that's the symbol for S&P futures. So if you guys are trying to chart out all the zones to predict a crash, I wouldn't go past the 4 hour. There are hundreds of thousands of zones, and your chart's just going to be a giant green blob. In fact, I would just chart the monthly, weekly, and daily zones, because that's where it's most likely to bounce in those zones, because those are the strongest and can sustain a bounce like that. But notice how when we charted that daily demand zone that bounced the market when COVID crashed, we weren't able to see that on the weekly and monthly. And that zone was so narrow. And the market bounced on that zone to the cent. Things don't even bounce in between candles. Like, it's not even 25 cents outside of it. It was perfectly to the cent at the bottom of the demand zone where that bounced. And it happens all the time. Very, very interesting.
On Webull, when I'm going to look at futures for the S&P and stuff,
I think it's SPY, SPY.
No, that's not.
Use INX.
I don't know what Webull is. I know for real brokers,
it's INX on Webull for anybody who uses Webull.
Right. SPY is not futures. SPY is just the ETF. SPY ETF. I mean S&P 500 ETF. This is the ES is S&P 500 mini futures. So I chart when it's gold. Like, for example, let's look at gold real quick. I didn't show you guys gold. Oh, this will be a beautiful example. Look at this. Oh, this is gonna be a beauty. This is a beauty. You guys remember how I was so bearish on gold and it was going up? Check out this weekly supply zone that formed right here. Or no, this weekly supply right here from bottom of body, top of wick right here, right? You guys see, everyone see this? Yes, no?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right.
Yeah, yep. No.
All right, well, we have one no. So this is a weekly supply zone right here for gold. If we zoom in, let's just zoom into the crap. Let's just go to the 2 hour chart, to be honest. This, look how it hit this zone. Look at gold's reaction to this zone. You see this? And this formed a daily supply right here that overlapped. While gold had this huge bull flag technical breakout, it rejected this zone. This was a perfect short play. Did I play it? No, because I'm stupid. Even though I was so confident gold is going down.
How low are you looking for gold to go before you hop on long?
So if we look at my zones, let me see if I have any more interesting bounces. I had a few. There are some zones in here that I played for gold. So let me go to my daily chart. So me and Liam were talking about this. So this is a big zone right here. This mid 1700 level. I'm going to chart more in depth of these zones. But this is my target zone right here. This 1650 level is what me and Liam, that's like the ultimate, that is the ultimate buy-in right there. I'll start buying in the mid 1700s, mid to low 1700s, and then everything else going in at 1650-ish, 1600s. And we'll make sure all of Aurora capitalizes on that because that is the life-changing opportunity right there once that plays out. And if you look at gold, this was a COVID crash, so keep in mind the gold gets dragged down with the market briefly, and when the market corrects, it's going to drag down gold. But gold is in a really weird thing right now, where even if the market's going up, gold is sometimes going down, and when the market's going down, gold went down too. So it looks like gold can't unhitch the trailer for its life. But if we go to the monthly chart for gold, look at the cup and handle forming. Except we expect this to be a really sharp handle right here, and then bang, it's gonna go up. My price targets for gold is 10,000, but that's because of macroeconomics and stuff like that. But easily 2,700, huge play. That'll be the big play right there, and I'll chart a lot more zones, be watching it more carefully, so we won't miss out on that. That's gonna be the big play. In fact, me and Phil are already compiling minor lists for that. But in the topic of zones, do you guys have any more questions regarding how to chart them, how they work, how to play them, anything like that? Any questions, or did I pretty much cover everything for y'all?
Personally, I have nothing specific. I like everything I heard. I feel like the best way, and this goes for everybody, to get a good grip on it is just to pull up some of this in practice. And I mean, personally, I know I'm going to be sending you a couple charts that I do out Bryce, and I just, if you could take a look at them throughout the week whenever you get a chance. It's not necessarily stuff I'm going to be playing or important. Right. I just want to see some feedback on the charting. You know what I mean? If you don't mind.
Yep. No. You guys send me your charts, and I'll let you know if they're right or not. And once you guys get comfortable, because in reality, with zones, dude, you don't need to be a mastermind to chart these. They're so simple. As long as you inspect every candle, it's fairly obvious what's a zone and what isn't a zone. However, when you have charts like Mara, once you get more advanced, you start to see zones that 99% of zone traders won't even see. Mara, for example, I'm not going to go to the monthly. Hang on. Let's go to the daily. My laptop's had enough of this. Recording, voice, loading up millions of candles. So I had this 4-hour demand here and this smaller demand here. And people were asking me for my price target on Mara when it was up here. I'm like, dude, I got zones down here. Now, obviously not all zones are filled. They're not gaps. They're zones, right? But the special thing about these zones is not only are there zones, there's zones right under a gap. And when Mara came down and dropped to here, this was 3 cents off of filling the gap. 3 cents off. And like I said, when stuff gets reversed, it is always in a zone. And I said, well, it's going to come down to my zone, which started at $17 and ended at on $15.60. And if I zoom in here, you go to the 3-hour chart. So you can see more of where this bounce happened. And then there's a smaller zone inside the demand zone where this happened. And this is a hot ticker that Phil plays, that you guys play. That's why I had it charted. So there are supply zones right here. There are some supply zones up here, which I do believe will get revisited. But yeah, this bounced in no man's land, and I knew that it was coming back down. This is an easy short play right here. And in fact, this supply zone is a very hard supply zone to see, because if this were a green candle and this were a red candle, you'd chart it. Most of the time, I wouldn't even chart this. The only reason why I charted this supply zone is because there were no other zones up until here, and I knew there had to be a rejection here. And if you look super closely at the candles, it's like the slightest of the slightest, bearish engulfing to this side. Just it's so slight. So top of body, bottom of body, top of wick is where I charted. Look where Mara got rejected right here. Look where it bounced in this demand zone. Let's go a 5-minute chart so you guys can see this better. That is not a zone that you guys are going to be able to chart for a while. And I don't even chart those zones. Like if I were to chart those zones, I expect the stock to blow through it, but it didn't. Yeah, look where it got rejected right to the penny.
That's greedy right there.
What was that?
That's greedy to the penny.
Yeah, look at that. Here, hang on. Okay, maybe not to the penny. All right. Look where it touched the top. Right there. And let's go to the 2-hour chart and compare where the wick was. Let's compare the wicks real quick. Sometimes they are to the penny. Like that COVID crash, it was like, I think it was $1.25 off. And when the thing is $3,000 or, let me just hop in magnet mode here. $19.86 to $19.84, so 2 pennies off of the tip top where this thing got rejected. Yeah, 2 pennies was all it was, and it got rejected. So almost to the penny, 2 pennies off. But yeah, that stuff happens all the time. Super easy to play. And if you know where zones are, not only can you kind of predict where the stock's going to go, because it bounced in the middle of nowhere, you can react. This is a very reactive trading strategy. This isn't really speculative, it's reactive. To know when this strategy is really good for realizing opportunity. This strategy shows you opportunity, like, hey, this is an opportunity. And then you watch for volume. Like, look at the volume on this candle and this candle. Hang on, let me... 15 minutes. Let me see. Yeah, look at the volume spike on this when it hit the top. Like, this volume spike, this was opening, so it gapped up. This was supposed to have massive volume. Look at the volume pop on here. And if I were to zoom in, you'd see a bigger volume pop.
Hey, that's Mara, right?
Yeah, this is Mara.
I honestly, just looking at the chart and, its past history, how it trades, I think this stock is probably going to pull back roughly to about $14, and then it's going to go up to, 40. This stock, it behaves like it does a massive volume, right?
Oh,
then it does a nice long pullback in profit taking.
Well, there's a zone right here at 1390, so we'll see. I didn't chart this one super in depth. These are just daily and 4-hour zones. But yeah, there's a zone right here in 1390.
Perfect stuff though.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the weekly chart, you're gonna see on this is important, on December 1st, 2017, you're gonna see a large red wick candle. Those are short here.
Right.
So that needs to be covered.
Yeah, for sure. So regarding just trading zones, because I'm in the recording here. So did I cover everything? Any last minute questions that just came to mind, or you guys solid and ready to go out and try this on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good. I'm gonna give quite a bit of time to this,
All right.
At night, stuff like that, practice them, and I'll send you some graphs this week.
Yeah, everyone, even if you're watching this recording after, this wasn't the most professional thing, because I got home from a 12-hour shift, didn't eat nothing, just hopped on here, zero preparation. But if you have any zones, really just send me charts, and I'll just, I'll send you what I get, and I'll tell you if you made a mistake, or if it is a zone, or if it isn't a zone, and how you can expect to play it. But yeah, just let me know, and I'm happy to help you guys. But
Perfect.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap up the recording here. Yeah, just let me know if you guys need help charting any of these.